I recently made a video about how to perform perfect dodges in the Callisto Protocol, and someone asked me, well, you didn't actually show us how to deal with multiple people. And my answer to that is, well, you shouldn't actually try to fight multiple people. And I'm going to go in depth. This is going to be a tips and tricks video about the Callisto Protocol. And you feel free to drop a like so that we can reach more people and help more people, and also do subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot and motivates me to do more videos like those. So without said, let's actually dive into the combat. So like I said before, you shouldn't be fighting multiple people because you may have noticed that the dodge mechanic is great whenever you are fighting one person, one enemy at a time. It stops working when you are fighting multiple people because they can just start swinging, and you may have noticed that you don't have a proper lock-on system, which means that the game is going to assume who you actually want to hit, and it may not be the one you actually want to hit. So it is in your best interest to never find yourself in a situation with more than one enemy. And it's not an instance of the devs not knowing about this. I think they were quite aware of that particular issue with the combat system. And if you notice, they carefully placed some environment hazards to help you deal with multiple enemies at once. Almost all the time, whenever you have more than 2 or 3 enemies, you have ways to get rid of them easier. You just need to pay attention. You just have to use your environment. That's the very first tip. Look around and use your environment. You have easy ways to deal with enemies, and you should never, ever, the moment you try to go against multiple people, you're going to go, oh, this game is clunky. Not really. Not exactly. You're just playing it wrong. In my opinion, the most powerful tool you have at your disposal is your GLP, and the moment you actually have access to that tool, you're going to see that the game opens up and the combat is simplified. It is in your best interest to divide and conquer. You never want to fight multiple people, and the GLP is going to allow you to just just grab someone and just push them away. And whether it's on the wall to impale them or into nothingness, because you can just throw them into nothingness. Don't be shy, just use your GLP. You go 1, 2, 3, yeet, and you yeet them away. So you always want to be on the lookout. Whether it's objects or explosives you can throw at enemies, you will find a handful of things to use in combat. And your GLP is always your best friend. And the way it works is larger enemies are going to consume a lot of enemies to move around. So it is in your best interest to upgrade the amount of charges and the amount of energy you have. That way you can perform multiple GLP actions in the row before the energy eventually gets depleted. But in case you have batteries, and by the way, I highly recommend having batteries at you at all time, because the game is not shy when it comes to all those healing items you're going to get. But because you may have noticed that it's almost impossible to hit in battle because it just takes way too long, my advice will be just carry 1 injectors and that's it. Everything else just save for ammo or batteries, because those are the things which are going to actually make the encounters different. And provided you actually have a battery in your inventory, you will be able to automatically recharge your GLP without having to go in the menu. To do so, you just want to wait for GLP to be fully depleted. That's the only problem. You need to wait for the GLP to be fully depleted, and then you want to perform a pull, and then that's when it's going to automatically refresh your energy. Unfortunately, you cannot do so if you still have 1 bar left, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, you do need to know that as long as you have batteries, you will always be able to perform those grabs. So just be careful, because you can drop an enemy in the middle of a pool, which is problematic, because if you're not aware of this, you're going to get hit because they're going to try to attack you. So always pay attention to the amount of charges you have, and also upgrade the charges you have and the rate at which it can get automatically refreshed. And I know I'm not the only one who has some issues with the way they implemented the checkpoints. I feel like that's too fine in between, but that's okay. It's the way the game works. But whenever you are actually done with an encounter, sometimes you're going to see a checkpoint, that checkpoint logo. Whenever that happens, my advice would be to reload, the checkpoint, because it's going to bring you back right here. And whenever you reload the checkpoint, your GLP is going to be fully charged. So let's say you depleted completely your GLP after an encounter and then you get a checkpoint. That means that you'll be able to reload that very checkpoint and get your GLP back. I think that's the fastest way to get your energy back without having to wait or span a battery, because chances are there's an encounter coming again, so you better be ready. And because the GLP is a gift which just keeps on giving, you can perform combos in the Callisto Protocol. All you have to do is pull enemies, because whenever they are being pulled, they cannot do anything. You just have to sit there. What you want to do is just pull them. You don't want to hold it, you just pull them and use your melee attack. Pull them, use your melee attack, pull, hit, pull, hit, pull, hit. You will be able to deal with them without them having time to retaliate whatsoever. That's how you can be very fast and deal with them in no time. Just be aware that it's going to deplete your GIP quite fast depending on the enemy in front of you. Sometimes the enemy will die quite fast, but if they can mutate, then they're most likely going to deplete your GRP. So this is just whenever you are dealing with the last enemy as a last result, but you'd never want to do that when you have multiple people, because then your GRP is going to be depleted. But yeah, you can perform combos in this game, which is quite nice. Oh god, that was a very long sequence where we just talked about the GLP, but to be fair, like I said, it is the best tool in the game. Is going to transform the way you tackle those encounters. So now we can talk about something else, like your melee weapon, your baton, your trusted baton. So, when it comes to the baton, I strongly advise upgrading and to be able to acquire the ability to perform heavy attacks, because whenever you perform a heavy attack, first of all, it can hit multiple enemies and it can knock them back, allowing you to then perform a time shot. And because enemies tend to be super aggressive and block your attacks, you want to get the upgrade to cut off their arm whenever they do so, because whenever an enemy is only using one arm, they cannot perform swings. They can only swing once and that's it, then it is your turn. So it simplifies the fight a whole lot whenever you cut off their arm, so do that immediately. And also because your heavy attacks pushes back enemies significantly, if you position yourself in front of an environmental hazard like some vents or turbines or even just a simple wall with spikes, if you knock them back, they're going to be automatically impaled without you using your GLP, which is quite nice, because if you're dealing with multiple enemies, if you just knock one back, they can all be impaled, which is very nice, and it is a lifesaver. So don't be shy and use your heavy attack whenever you can. It's going to save some bullets and save some energy on your GLP. Now, when it comes to your weapons, you never want to just go gun blazing, because as you may have noticed, the enemies are super tanky and it's going to be a waste of bullets. Instead, you want to open them up and then use your time shots. That's how you deal damage. And sometimes it can be the difference between using 2 bullets and using 10 bullets, which is significant because you're going to need those bullets whenever you are fighting those very tanky bosses. And I did mention the ability to perform perfect dodges in this game, and it looks very cool. And to do so, I'm going to try my best to explain it this simple way. The game tells you have to hold either left or right. It doesn't matter the timing, you don't have to match the enemy's attack. You just want to hold either left or right, and then change depending on whether or not you are in the sequence with multiple attacks. To perform, in my opinion, the easiest way to perform a perfect dodge is just to tap. Just tap, not hold. Tap either left or right before an enemy's attack. It is the simplest way I can explain it, because it is that simple and there is not multiple ways to do that. You just need to wait, and when the moment you see that they're going to start swinging, you tap. Gently tap left or right, and your character is going to perform a perfect dodge. Time is going to be slowed down, and if you have multiple attacks incoming, then tap in the opposite direction and you can perform multiple perfect dodges in a row. Now, it has been brought to my attention that you can perform counterattacks whenever you perform perfect dodges. All you have to do is use your light melee attack, not the heavy. your light melee attack after the moment you actually successfully perform a perfect dodge. It's going to allow you to push back, to knock back an enemy, and then you can perform a follow-up time shot. So it's some kind of a combo. You dodge, you knock them back, and then you shoot. And because you are using your time shot, you can just end them right there. Depending on the shot, you can just shoot twice or even once and just instantly kill the enemy. So it's like a nice trick if you don't want to just wait for them to be over, taking like 7 or 6 swings. No, you can just instantly counter them, which is quite nice. I like it. I actually like it. I think you can tell by now that the combat in this game is not clunky. It can be rewarding. You just don't want to find yourself in a situation where it doesn't work. And you have tools at your disposal, you just need to look around. But having said that, I still struggle a lot when it comes to the weapon switching mechanic, because sometimes I can't switch my weapon. You have a weapon wheel for quick access, you don't have to go to the inventory. But whenever I would sometimes choose a weapon, he will choose a different weapon, which I don't understand. It led to some very frustrating moments, especially during boss fights, where I would try to switch and he wouldn't choose the proper weapon, and that was very annoying. So I don't know what it is about, but I do hope they do something about it, because what's the point of having a weapon wheel if when you select a weapon, that's not the weapon he chooses? I think that's quite dumb. But other than that, I think the combat is actually good, right? It's not in your interest, it's not in your best interest to go against multiple people. You just want to pay attention. Don't sleep on the GLP, it is your best friend. Your melee attacks can be used to open up enemies, and don't waste your shots. Very important. Keep all those things in mind. You're going to see that the combat can be satisfying in this game. I'm Jisoo, and feel free to add up whatever I forgot to mention, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.